Hi, and welcome back. In this lecture, we're going to talk about key insight 1, changing customer demands and expectations. Well, if you look at the market trends and insights in the insurance industry, we're seeing a lot of dynamics as far as customer demands and expectations are concerned. First, we are seeing the lack of access to customer information because insurance underwriting is a very complex process. It requires a lot of thought as well as analytical skills to understand what are the risks that customers are facing and what are the likelihood of those risks significantly impacting the customer's assets. So you need to understand all those factors. So customer profiling requires data and privacy laws. So for example, if you look at the European Union, they have something called GDPR, or what we call General Data Protection Regulation. And also, states like California, they have something called California Consumer Privacy Act, or CCPA. So those kind of acts makes it difficult for businesses to mine consumer data. And also, if you're extracting data, or if you're keeping data, processing data, and doing any sort of thing with consumer data, you need to ensure that you get the consent from consumers saying, this is what we're going to use for data, this is the reason, this is what we're going to do with data, this is how we're going to store it, share it, process it, analyze it. All those things must be clearly communicated to the consumer, and you need to get their consent. And if you don't get consent from the consumer, businesses can be sued by the consumer. And also, we're seeing the issues in managing an omni-channel experience. So there are lots of customers these days who would prefer to go across, meaning physical and the digital world, to get to access their products and services, to get to know about their products and services that's on offer. So all those things, there's a wide variety of channels. So they can either contact the insurance brokers or agents, go online and check the websites, and also maybe visit the physical location to get the information. So how do you deliver consistency across all the channels? How do you ensure that all the agents, brokers, and every stakeholder, or what we call every touch point that the customer interacts with, is consistent across and aligns with your business values and principles? So majority of the businesses in the insurance industry are struggling to ensure this consistent omnichannel experience. So how are we going to address it? Well, we're going to talk about it in one of our next lectures. Then we have things like personalizing and adjusting the experience for each customer's journey. So each of our lives are unique. Each of the risks that we take are unique as well. So the factors that account, or the factors that influence those risks, are also unique. So how do we develop products and services which are personalized and customized to each specific scenario? For example, if you look at a vehicle that's being used for delivery purposes or logistical purposes, maybe who's running on Uber, versus the same type of vehicle which is just being used maybe once a week. So if you analyze the risk side by side of both the vehicles, and you will come into an obvious conclusion that the vehicle that's being used for logistical purposes has very high risk compared to the vehicle that's being used just once a week, because it spends a lot of time on the road, and the chances of it meeting an accident, the probability is much more higher. But if you look at the insurance premiums, most of the time both these vehicles will be spending the same amount of the premium, very slight changes. But if you look at from a risk perspective, there's a huge difference in the risk involved. So how do you personalize these kind of scenarios? It's same with any kind of insurance as well, whether it's home insurance, business insurance, disaster management and recovery insurance. So if you can analyze all these factors that's really affecting, and then formulate the policy based on each specific scenario, not on each specific customer, but each specific scenario that the customer or the client is facing, to protect their assets, it will be much more helpful and also deliver a whole lot of value for the customer, because they're getting a lot of value for money. And also from a business perspective, it really helps to optimize your workflows, optimize your assets and liabilities, and also promote your brand and business as a business who delivers value for money. And also understanding and measuring the customer experiences. So we're seeing another trend of businesses really trying to understand the customer experience and also give a number to it, give a metric to it. So how do you understand customer experiences? What are the tools and technologies that are required? Companies are seeking answers for all these questions. How do you measure it? How do you ensure that the customers are fulfilled? Customers' needs are satisfied? And will the customer be loyal to you on a long term? And how do you deliver value on a long term basis, not just doing one transaction with the customer and leaving the customer exposed so that the competitors can come and take the customer? Then we have other challenges like the widening gap between generations. So we have baby boomers who are born from 1946 to 1964. Then we have Generation X who's born from 1965 to 1980. Then we have millennials or Gen Y who are born from 1981 to 1995. Then we have Generation Z who's born from 1996 to 2010. Then we have Generation Alpha who's born from 2011 to 2025. So each of these generations have specific requirements and needs and also different values and beliefs as well. How do we cater towards different generations and also come up with very advanced tools and technologies to understand their requirements as well so that we can serve them better? For example, in the very near future, we're going to have 5 different generations who grew up with different adoption of technologies. If you look at the Generation Alpha and Generation Z, and also quite a few number of millennials, they grew up with digital technologies, digital at their core. But we also have a generation who are more comfortable with dealing things in pen and paper, and also who are not that tech savvy. So insurance businesses are struggling to really customize their portfolio based on these generations and also to find much more greater personalization to connect with customers better. And also we are seeing this whole trend of insurance industry players trying to demonstrate the value of the customer's shared data, because customers will have to compromise on sharing their data to get better services. Insurance businesses need the customer data to deliver and create much more richer and better customer experiences as well as a great portfolio of products and services. So how do you convey the customer that the data is needed? So the easiest and the most effective and sustainable way is to convey the value provided by the data to the customers as well as complying with industry-leading data and privacy standards like GDPR. Also, different countries are coming up with their own protocols, own privacy frameworks for protecting customer data. So by complying and demonstrating and also advertising that we are compliant in this privacy standard will give the customers the confidence and also win the trust of customers that their data is being used to deliver a great experience for them. Well, those are a few insights and market trends as far as key insight 1, changing customer demands and expectations are concerned. I'll see you on another lecture.